Hi, my name is Jay Sugarman, and I want to welcome you to Innovation Showcase. The main purpose of this ongoing series is to inform viewers about exciting innovations and creative individuals across the fields of business, science, technology, education, and the arts. Today, via Zoom, we're fortunate to have as our guest Havilah Abrego. Based in Honolulu, Hawaii, Havilah is a marine biologist and artist whose work brings the ocean to life in breathtaking ways. Through large-scale paintings inspired by her experiences diving and studying marine ecosystems, she captures the beauty, movement, and mystery of life beneath the surface. During the program, we'll be learning why and how Havilah's interest in both science and art came about. We'll view and discuss some of her stunning artwork, and in the process, come to better understand and appreciate what happens when art and science move together and how the fusion can change the way we see our planet. Let's start by meeting Havilah and then hear all about, as well as enjoy, some of her outstanding artistry. Welcome, Havilah. So delighted to be able to be here.
Hi, Jay. It's so nice to be here. Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Oh, our pleasure. Eager to hear all about your work and have you inform viewers. But before we jump right to that, I think it would be of interest if you just briefly share maybe a little bit more about your background, perhaps how your interest in art and science came about.
Yes, so I've always had a very deep interest and passion for not just painting, but for the ocean. As far as I can remember, I remember being a really small child, maybe 3 or 4 years old were my earliest memories, and always being really
Oh,
fascinated by marine life. And my family can speak to that as well. How I always would have toys and coloring books and just everything that I owned had to do with the ocean. So I like to believe that I was a mermaid in a past life. um, but I have always loved the ocean. I always knew that I would be a marine biologist one day and go to school to study the ocean, be
Wow.
a scuba diver. Art was its own discipline in itself that I began finding interest in separate from loving the ocean. But as an adult, it's been really beautiful to watch them merge and kind of watch them dance as I grow in both of those disciplines. But I come from a family of painters. So my dad is a painter, my grandfather was a painter,
Ah,
and my great grandmother was also a painter, most of them on
wow.
my dad's side. So I was always surrounded by art growing up. I always was watching my dad paint. I would go visit my grandpa at his house a couple blocks away from us. And his house smelled like oil paint because there was so many paintings constantly happening. He would walk around with his paintbrush, like just painting, even paintings that were hung on the wall already. He would be working on them.
Wow.
So I've been very much immersed in both fields, I guess, since a very young age.
Well, we're fortunate we have an image that speaks to that point exactly. So we're going to bring it up and please share one of your first pieces, I believe, and how this came about and what we have here, please.
Yes, that is a very special piece to me, and I have it hung in my bedroom here in my apartment. It's framed, and there's a very cool story behind this because I grew up watching my dad draw, paint, and he works in construction, so his career has taken off for him as well in a really beautiful way. And
Hmm.
I would always watch him draw plans in his studio, like architectural plans. And he had all these really cool tools to, I don't know the technical terms for all that, but he had a whole studio set up where he would work and I would watch him. And I remember, I must have been 8 or 9 years old, and I was sitting just watching him work, and he had a bunch of plans that were really old, and he was flipping through these old, like organizing all these old pages, and then he was talking to me about, he was like, "Oh, have you ever tried drawing, or have you been drawing recently? Have you been," and he's like, "Have you ever worked with paint?" I don't remember exactly how the
Hmm.
conversation came up, but he asked me if I had ever worked with paint before. And I was like, "Oh no." And then he pulled out some of his paints, they're acrylic paint, and he ripped off part of his old plans. And that's what that page is. It's one of his,
Ah,
and we painted on the back of it. And he asked me what I wanted to try painting. And he's like, "I'll just show you how to start working with acrylic paint. You might like it." And I remember him saying, like, "Your grandfather's such a good painter. You might have his gene of painting." And so he helped me with this piece. So we worked on that together. So it's a very important piece to me. And that was the first time I ever worked with acrylic paint.
that's incredible and definitely foreshadowed your current work to this day. But before we enjoy that, you also ventured into other type of painting. Can you share this wonderful shot?
Yes, so that is a very different scene than what people normally recognize my work to be. But I definitely feel that it has the same energy as all my other work does. I grew up in LA, in California, and so because I didn't start, this is a whole other story, but I started scuba diving when I was around 13, 12 or 13. And up until then, I did love spending time just in nature in general. And because California has so many redwoods, I do have a lot of memory of being equally captivated by the magic in redwood forests, because that was also such a huge part of growing up in California. And so I wasn't able to go visit them as often as I liked to. So I started looking up photos of them online, and I started studying the lighting and just the coloring. And I remember the first time I went camping, like deep in the redwood forests in Santa Cruz. It was the most overwhelming, magical feeling. The energy in the redwoods is so amazing. So I started painting them way before I got into painting whales the way that I do now.
No,
And
I just have to say, I mean, the coloring, the shading, just exquisite.
thank you.
Um, oh, fabulous. I know we could hear much more, but we want to move on. And before we sort of bring everybody up to date, wonderful story behind this painting of your childhood home.
Yes. So I grew up in this house. This was in San Dimas. Well, it's still there. It's in San Dimas, California. And my dad built this house for my family. And my mom and dad designed it together. I remember it took them about 5 years to design it and build it.
Wow.
And we moved into a really small home. It was a duplex, and they knocked it down from the ground up. They built this house. And growing up in this house was a lot of really incredible, like, the foundation of my life as an artist and just my childhood is in this house. And so when we moved, it was really difficult for me to leave that house. I think I was 3 when we moved in there, and we moved when I was, or they sold it when I was 17. So
Mm.
it was really difficult to leave that house. And so when the new owners bought it, they actually reached out to me months later and asked me to paint a painting of
Ah,
the house. And there's been several owners since then. That's quite a while ago. And the painting is still in that house. So it's a really beautiful full circle. I don't know. It feels like my dad built that house, and it's a family home, and there's so much art in that house. And now that painting is there, and it's kind of immortalized it in a way. So it's really special to me.
most definitely, most definitely. You know, coming up to more present day artwork, what has attracted you, drawn you to whales, sails, and crustaceans?
Yeah, so I've been very enthralled with whales my entire life. Again, going back to being a child, I always had extremely vivid dreams about whales. very, very vivid dreams. I felt like I always had a very deep spiritual connection to whales for whatever reason. And I mean, if you look around the world, so many cultures worship whales and they find so much spiritual significance and religious significance in whales. And I think we can all relate to that in some way. And I definitely was in touch with that. And I could speak for a very long time about why marine mammals have so much significance. But as I got older and knew that I was going to be a scientist and a diver, and I wanted to dive with whales, I didn't have access to that at an early age. I had documentaries, I had photos, I had my imagination, and painting whales was a way for me to, it was kind of like entering a portal into my dream of being able to be in the water
Mm.
with them. And I think that's why I really started painting them.
Mhm.
And I got deeper from there. But
Yeah. Can you share a little bit about the process, say the one we're seeing here, a mother with a calf, how you go about from beginning to finished product a little bit?
yes, so this is a very large, well, not as large as my largest piece, but this one is about 4 feet by 4 feet. So
Wow.
it is on the bigger side. The bigger they get, the more challenging they get for sure. But something like this, it always comes from, I have a very loose vision in my head first of the position of the animals. Everything else kind of follows that. And that's where becoming a scientist and really studying animals and wildlife and their behavior and their movement begins to inform the positioning of the animals.
Mm.
And I guess the overall composition of pieces like this are based on the animals because there's so much liminal space around it. So the position is really setting the whole mood. And I don't draw anything beforehand. I have a few times, but I create a blue background and then I just sketch I almost like carve into the paint the shapes of the animals.
Mm.
And I just, I start filling in the darkest values of the whales, the lightest values, and then it's hard to describe it. It all just kind of comes to be at the same time.
It's
But
fabulous.
uh,
We're fortunate to move on. Just another a variation. What went into your thinking here?
yes, this was a very special piece. I actually created this for Jean-Michel Cousteau at his, he received the Lifetime Achievement Award a few years ago. And I was an artist at the gala celebrating that award. And they called me a few days before the gala and asked me if I wanted to show art for them. And I spent 3 days making this piece.
Wow.
I made it with a lot of passion because, watching the Cousteaus when I was younger, they were always kind of like idols to me. And so when I was creating this, there was a lot of energy behind it, tapping into my childhood, and all of this energy was coming through to this piece. And I think you can really see it because it's so dramatic.
Oh,
And
yeah. I mean, what a
really,
fantastic opportunity.
yeah, it was really wonderful. And I got to know him and other really incredible explorers and scientists, and it was truly an honor. And this piece is very special to me because of that.
Understandably, understandably. Moving on, I can see somewhat, but definitely want to hear your thoughts of how this connects to some of your early thinking about your attraction to whales and the sea. This one you call the underworld, I believe.
Yes. Yes. So this is actually a dream that I had. Very interesting. I remember having, again, I've always had very vivid dreams about the ocean, whales specifically, but I have a lot of dreams about being in these really dramatic scenes. And this one was really striking to me. And I remember waking up just knowing that I had to paint it. This is also a larger piece. This is a few feet tall, I believe. It's 48 inches, or I guess a couple of feet tall. But it's it's a very, I remember I painted it in a full day and then I touched it up a few days after that, but it just flowed so easily because the vision was so vivid in my mind. And I think the lighting really commands this piece because in my dream, I remember the light feels kind of like an entity or a presence in all of my pieces. And in real life as well, the light feels like this divine energy that's just
Mm, mm.
present.
What does working at the scale that you work at allow you to achieve with your work?
I love the bigger pieces. They just command the space in a way that it's almost like the larger they are, the more they force you to pause. And I think the pause is where a lot of power is with art, is because, especially now, everything moves so fast and we have so much access to information, to quick just viewing things for a dopamine hit. And it's harder and harder for us to really appreciate a piece of art in the way that we used to. And I think size really forces you, especially with whales and with dramatic
Mm,
lighting, all this stuff, if you can't help but stand in front of a massive piece and just be kind of like forced to pause. And um, especially with whales, we know that they're large, we know that they're massive animals, but nothing prepares you to be next to an animal that large and know what it feels like. So it almost kind of gives people a little bit of a sense of like, if I was next to an animal, this is a fraction of their size, but I still feel overwhelmed looking at them.
yeah, yeah. This next one also speaks to very imaginative thinking that goes behind a lot of your work. This one, a wonderful title, and again, just such stunning colors, called Divine Intervention.
Yes, I love that piece. It's a very special piece to me because that is from the first time that I ever visited Hawaii ever. And I went to Maui and I was there with a very special person as well. And we were at the beach very late at night and it was during a meteor shower. It was during the migration season of the humpback whales. And I mean, it feels like every day here is just perfect. It feels like a simulation almost, like every day is just absolutely gorgeous. And so the sky is always clear, but it's dark, yet there's clouds that are somehow there commanding the sky. And then the moon was there. And when the humpback whales are migrating, you can lay in the water, not even with your entire head underwater. You can be with the water lapping against your ears and you can hear them singing.
Oh, wow.
And it's overwhelming when you first experience that. It's almost kind of like haunting. It's like kind of
Yeah.
shivers up your spines because you realize that you're like, there's these beings out there that are talking to each other and we just don't know that they're there. So we were in the water floating with our ears underwater, listening to them sing, and there was a meteor shower. And granted, we weren't this close, the whales were further out, but this is a common position that you see them in with their calves. And it was just all of this happening. It was unreal. It was just, and that was when I was like, I have to move here. I can't leave, like I have to move here. And so this is that memory that I had, but
Fabulous.
I
Oh,
composed it with
fabulous.
together.
As your scientific knowledge has deepened, how has your artwork evolved?
Yes, it has evolved quite a bit. I mean, you can look back at the earlier whale painting that I did and see the difference. It's become it's become much more refined, definitely. Um, I do find that there is a challenge with not leaning too much into my scientific brain because that can really overcome the whole piece, and I will never finish it because it will never look perfect to me.
Mm,
But as I understand details and the animals more, the way that light hits things, the way that their body language is, their positioning. I feel like it commands more when I'm painting wildlife because I'm very analytical of like, okay, would they actually be moving in this way? Would they be positioned this way? Would they, and sometimes if they have a certain body position or their body language is a certain way, they wouldn't be at the surface or they wouldn't be doing this or they, so that kind of comes in more with the composition of the piece.
Mhm, mhm.
Um, yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
Most definitely. No, I was thinking how you balance the science and the art, and I think you just answered it wonderfully. You know, in addition to whales, I know seals, and here we see a
Yeah.
Hawaiian monk seal. Share a little bit about this, please.
This is a very also they're all very special pieces, but this one is really special because this is based on a real animal that I'm currently working with.
Ah,
And so Hawaiian monk seals, again, I could speak on them for a very long time. But I'm currently an intern at the Waikiki Aquarium working with the Hawaiian monk seal that they have there under NOAA permitting. And this animal is sight compromised. He's a blind animal. He is an amazing ambassador for all of the wild Hawaiian monk seals out there. People learn so much from him. And his name is Ho'ailona. And I have a very dear friend here on the island who commissioned me to make this piece to actually represent her business. She's also a biologist. She works in conservation and she works primarily, or in the past, she worked primarily with Hawaiian monk seals. And so she commissioned me to create this piece for her business. And we kind of decided to base this animal on Ho'ailona because she's also worked with him as well. And yeah, it's, I mean, I don't know what else to say. I could talk forever about it, but it's a
oh,
very special.
fabulous, fabulous. And one more piece we're fortunate to be able to share. This one at Pelican Preserve.
Yes. So this is Pelican Reserve at Anacapa Island in California, which is the first island that I ever went scuba diving at when I was around 12 or 13 years old. And this was a day in November where this dive site is so pristine and so gorgeous. The water quality is always incredible around this time of year. The visibility is incredible. And it was always my favorite dive site to go to. And my dad and I would always go there. And my dive master and the man who basically certified us, we went to his school. He took this photograph. I believe it was him or one of the other divers. I'm pretty sure it was him. And he brought me along later on to what is it called? Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the name, but it's a like a scuba diving like convention that happens in Long Beach. And I was live painting at that event and he gave me his photograph and I was like, "Oh, this would be a great photo to paint at this event." And I painted it live there. So I finished it start to finish at the event. Um, but I love this. It's very special because I don't paint a lot of kelp forests. I would like to revisit that topic because that's my home. That's where I grew up diving, and that's the first part of the ocean that I ever knew. And so, kelp forests are very special to me.
Oh, and again, just the colors are so exquisite. You know, as we come a little closer to the end, I've read that you're thinking of maybe creating immersive, multi-sensory experiences. What would that look like right now in your thinking?
Yes, this is something that has been on my mind for quite some time, and I'm currently researching different spaces or museums, galleries that I can have this. idea come to life. And to me, it's, my paintings do have a lot of energy with the lighting and the color, and all of these facets of them are powerful, but I imagine having large scale paintings with complementary lighting, with sound, with recordings of
Wow.
different wildlife, with noise that will kind of take you deeper into that state where you can explore what it means to you. And I even see myself doing, hopefully at some point, museum exhibitions that can come together with my art and be educational, but still preserving that emotional part of my paintings, because I do know that they are very emotional, and I think that is what makes art really powerful. So I'm working on that. I have a book that is filled with ideas, and they're slowly coming to life. It's more of a long-term project, but it'll happen soon.
Fabulous. I'll look forward to enjoying that coming up. If Havilah, if you could leave viewers with one message about the ocean and our relationship to it, what might it be?
Oh my goodness. That's such a big question. um, you know what? The biggest thing that I always come back to, especially with my art and my work, is we, being connected to the ocean is our birthright as humans. And unfortunately, access to the ocean and understanding the ocean has become very exclusive in terms of needing a degree or having money to go out on the water. Um, a lot of things that stand in people's ways of feeling like they can connect to it. And with that, isolates people from feeling like they have the power to participate in ocean conservation. And I think that the most important thing that we can all remember is, knowing the ocean is our birthright, and we can know it and study it and get to participate in conservation in so many different ways, not just by becoming a marine biologist and doing research and publishing a paper. Like, we need all hands on deck when it comes to ocean conservation. And even if you've never been in the ocean before or seen it, you can still love it, get to know it, and eventually, like, I know a lot of people are working to make it more accessible, and that's what I want to do as well.
Well
Um,
said. Well said. In closing, how can viewers and others find out more about your work, perhaps get in touch?
yes, so I am on Instagram. I post a lot of my adventures in the ocean, but also all of my work is on Instagram. I do respond to my Instagram DMs, so people can reach out to me there. My website, just my full name, havilaabrego.com, that has a contact page. I also respond to that. Yeah, that's pretty much where.
Terrific. Well, we'll be sure to put those references and links in the closing credits. But for now, Havilah, unfortunately, we've come to the end of the program. I want to thank you once again for taking the time to be here. It's
Thank
been
you so much.
fascinating talking to you, enjoying some of your work, and wish you continued success with upcoming and future endeavors.
Thank you so much. It was really great being on. I appreciate it. It was great to meet you as well.
Pleasure. Also want to thank those of you watching for joining us and hope you'll be able to tune in next time.